Alright, movie sentries, lock in for a second, because this is one of those DC rumors that just refuses to disappear. Imagine this. James Gunn's new DC universe is still taking shape, Superman is about to reintroduce hope with Man of Tomorrow, Supergirl is already lined up with her own film, and suddenly, two very big Hollywood names keep getting pulled into the conversation. Sydney Sweeney, Jennifer Lawrence, and one very specific character, Power Girl. Now, before anyone runs with headlines or starts engraving casting announcements in stone, let's slow this down. Nothing here is confirmed. There's no press release, no studio announcement, no James Gunn emoji teasing anything on social media. What we're dealing with is speculation. Persistent, loud, fan-driven speculation. But sometimes those conversations don't come from nowhere. So let's talk about why Power Girl is suddenly back in the spotlight, why these two actresses keep getting mentioned, and whether a Power Girl live-action movie even makes sense inside the DCU as it's being built right now. And trust me, this gets more interesting the further you look. First, let's ground ourselves in the character, because Power Girl isn't just another Supergirl, even though that's the surface-level assumption a lot of people make. Power Girl first appeared in All-Star Comics in 1976. Her real name has shifted depending on the era, Kara Zor-L, Karen Starr, but her defining trait has always stayed consistent. She is the Supergirl of another Earth, specifically Earth 2, home of DC's Golden Age heroes. Her origin mirrors Krypton's destruction, but the details matter. Her parents sent her away before the planet died, just like Superman's did. But due to the way time and dimensions work between universes, her ship didn't arrive on Earth 2 right away. It took much longer. By the time she landed, she wasn't a child, she was already an adult. That single difference changes everything. Power Girl didn't grow up with a human family. She didn't have a Clark Kent-style upbringing. She arrived already formed, already powerful, already dealing with loss. That's why she's written as more aggressive, more direct, and more emotionally hardened than most Kryptonians we've seen on screen. She has the full Kryptonian power set, super strength, flight, heat vision, invulnerability, but her personality is where she really stands apart. She's confident, she's blunt, she doesn't soften her words to make others comfortable. And over the years, that attitude has made her a natural leader on teams like the Justice Society of America, Justice League Europe, Infinity Inc., and Birds of Prey. Of course, DC being DC, her origin didn't stay untouched. After Crisis on Infinite Earths wiped out the multiverse, Power Girl's Kryptonian roots were stripped away. She was rewritten as the granddaughter of an Atlantean sorcerer named Arion. That version didn't land well with fans, and eventually Infinite Crisis restored her as the last surviving Supergirl from Earth 2. That's the version most fans still connect with today, and it's also the version that suddenly feels very compatible with the DCU's renewed interest in alternate worlds. Which brings us to the casting buzz. Sydney Sweeney's name has been everywhere lately, and not just because she's been busy. Between Euphoria, The White Lotus, and a string of high-profile projects, she's become one of the most talked-about actresses of her generation. And once fans start imagining an actor in a superhero role, the internet does what it always does. Concept art, edits, mock posters, endless debates. Power Girl became one of those roles. You can't scroll for long without seeing Sweeney digitally placed into the character's white and red suit. Some fans see her as a fresh, modern take, someone who could bring intensity and emotional complexity while still fitting into a younger, long-term DCU plan. At the same time, there's pushback. Her recent involvement in Madam Web didn't exactly boost confidence for everyone. Fair or not, superhero fatigue and mixed project reception tend to follow actors around, especially in fan discussions. And casting Power Girl isn't just about appearance, it's about presence, authority, and a certain emotional weight. That's where Jennifer Lawrence enters the conversation. Her name comes up less often, but when it does, it shifts the tone of the discussion entirely. Jennifer Lawrence isn't a rising star. She's a proven one, an Oscar winner, a franchise veteran, someone who carried the Hunger Games for years and already knows what it's like to exist inside massive fan expectations. She's also no stranger to superhero properties after her run as Mystique in the X-Men films. Fans who support her casting tend to imagine a more seasoned Power Girl, someone who feels world-weary, someone who's been doing this for a long time and is tired of pretending everything is fine. Lawrence's natural sarcasm, dry humor, and emotional range line up surprisingly well with Power Girl's blunt personality. But let's be honest here, this is still wish casting. There's no credible insider report tying either actress to DC Studios, no trade confirmations, no casting calls leaked, just online momentum and speculation filling the silence. So the real question becomes, is there even a Power Girl movie happening? Officially, no. There is no confirmed Power Girl project on DC Studios' slate. James Gunn and Peter Safran have been very open about what's in development, and Power Girl hasn't been named. Yet. But the absence of confirmation doesn't necessarily mean the idea is impossible. Look at the bigger picture. The DCU is clearly leaning into Kryptonian mythology. Superman is the foundation. Millie Alcock's Supergirl is scheduled for June 2026 and is based on Tom King's darker, more introspective comic run. That story already establishes that not every Kryptonian experience mirrors Clark Kent's. Millie Alcock's Supergirl is portrayed as more isolated, more hardened by trauma, and more distant from humanity. That alone signals that DC is willing to explore multiple interpretations of Kryptonian survivors. And then there's the multiverse. Between Peacemaker and other DC projects, concepts like parallel Earths and advanced technology, like the quantum unfolding chamber, have already been introduced. The groundwork exists. DC doesn't need to force Power Girl into the same timeline as Supergirl. They can bring her in from somewhere entirely different. That's why fans keep circling back to her. A Power Girl movie wouldn't just be another origin story. It could explore identity across realities, what it means to survive your planet, only to arrive in a world that isn't truly yours, how responsibility changes when you don't grow up with hope but with memory. Still, there are real challenges. DC's recent history isn't spotless. The cancellation of Batgirl is still fresh in people's minds, although some fans weren't looking forward to it, to be honest. Fans have learned the hard way that development doesn't equal release. And Power Girl's costume, iconic as it is, would absolutely spark debate in today's climate. Any adaptation would need thoughtful handling to avoid reducing the character to controversy rather than substance. James Gunn has shown he can write strong female characters, but translating Power Girl's visual legacy into live action would require balance. Respect the source material without letting it overshadow the character's depth. So why won't this rumor die? Because fans want it to be real. There's a clear hunger for more female-led DC stories that don't feel secondary or disposable. Power Girl represents strength, confidence, and independence without apology. And in a DCU trying to redefine itself, she feels like a character waiting for the right moment. But until that moment comes, until DC Studios says the words out loud, this remains speculation. Entertaining speculation, but speculation all the same. If anything, Millie Alcock's Supergirl will be the real test. Its reception will likely determine how far DC is willing to push the Kryptonian corner of the universe. If audiences respond, doors open. If not, priorities may shift. So for now, the conversation lives online, in fan art, in casting debates, in rumors that grow louder the longer silence stretches. And maybe that's exactly where it belongs, for now. So let me throw it to you. Are audiences actually ready for a Power Girl live-action movie? Do you see Sydney Sweeney as the right fit, or does Jennifer Lawrence's experience give her the edge? Or is there another actress entirely who would own this role better than either of them? And how do you think James Gunn could introduce Power Girl into the DCU without breaking what's already being built? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear all of them. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in for more DC updates as the universe continues to take shape.